Okay, so the news is over, which means we are ready to go at Connected North at home with two amazingly special guests. We have a really good friend of Taking It Global and Connected North. We've known him for years at Taking It Global, and his name is Paul Reynolds. And in the past few years, we've gotten to know one of his best friends, Andrea, and they work together at FableVision and the Reynolds Center for Learning. And Paul is an author and a teacher and an inventor and an animator and just an all around amazing person. And he's going to share a really awesome story with us today that's called Going Places, about boys and girls who love to build and invent. And we've been doing a lot of building and inventing and recycling this week for Earth Week. And then Andrea is going to lead us through a really super fun way, cool activity. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and I'm going to turn off my camera, and Andrea's going to turn off her camera and mic, and we're going to hear Paul. And he's got a really fun story to tell you and a little presentation to show you. And we'll see you guys in a little.
Awesome. Thanks, Melly. So awesome to be here and to be connecting the dots with students all across Canada. And it's cool that we're outside here in Boston, and with the help of technology, of course, we're now connected, and we get to share some fun things, story and some technology and big ideas. And one of the big ideas for today is I'm wearing the t-shirt Create Bravely. And those are really important words for us here at FableVision and the Reynolds Center, because creating is one of the coolest things that human beings can do. And we also understand that to be creative, you also have to be very brave as well, because coming up with an idea for a story, an idea for a poem, or an idea for an invention can sometimes be a little challenging. And we have to be brave when we do that. And so we'll be talking about that today. So I figured that I might just share with you just a few slides that I am going to look for my presentation here and see if I can share it. With any luck, I'm sharing it with you now. That's just my little title, Create Bravely. And there we have it. My twin brother, Peter, did that illustration. We're going to be talking about story of different tools that we have at FableVision. There are a lot of tools, technology tools, design tools, but story is really important to us because it does a lot of work in conveying really big ideas, and ideas that sometimes can change the way people think and act and be inspired to make the world a better place. So there are two of me. I was born a twin, and I don't know if there are any twins out in the audience listening, but it's definitely lots of fun. There are 5 kids in the family, but Peter and I started together very early on. That's Peter with a beard now. You might know some of his books, like the Judy Moody books or the Stink books. And Peter's painting dots in that picture that I took of him. Oh, look, there's us again. And that's us when we were very little, going places. And I think that's just about the time when we moved from Canada. Peter and I were actually born in Toronto. I think we're supposed to say it like that. Peter and I have been going places from Canada to Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. And when you're inventing things and creating things, it's good to have a creative partner. Peter has been an awesome creative partner. That's him again. You might know the book The Dot, which he wrote and illustrated about a little girl named Vashti who did not think that she could draw, and her teacher actually helped her be inspired to discover that she could actually draw, and she is a creative person. We're not going to read that story today, but Peter and I also do the Sydney and Simon books, and these are books for younger kids to introduce them into the world of STEM and STEAM, mixing the arts with science, technology, engineering, and math. And there are 3 books so far in this series, and they feature twins, which when you're writing your own book, you get to pick the characters and the things that you love. Peter and I loved being twins, so we created these 2 characters. Sydney is the girl, and Simon is the boy, and they love problems, and they use their creativity and STEM skills to solve those problems. So those are fun books for young kids. For older kids, and actually all ages. Going Places is a great story, and I will share that, and we're going to do a read. I think we're going to just do a quick tour of what we do. We work at FableVision, as Mally was saying, and that is actually based in Boston. If you ever come to Boston, we're on the top floor of the Boston Children's Museum. It is a really cool place to work, surrounded by kids and educators, and we're right on the Boston Harbor, so it's a pretty cool place for FableVision and the Reynolds Center for teaching, learning, and creativity. Reynolds TLC. That's a look inside the studio. That's Peter with some of the artists and designers and writers. We have well, actually, this was a former student who became an employee. Jordan does digital music composition for our animated films. We do animated films, game-based applications, games for learning, websites. That's Hannah. She's a digital animator. She's drawing directly into a tablet. And we work with all sorts of cool people, from PBS to Toca Boca to Girl Scouts, National Geographic, Jim Henson Productions. So that people come to us and they say, can you imagine a creative way to teach people something? And we use our animation and story and characters to help tell stories and create games that help people learn. So we create really all the time in the studio, and it's really exciting for us, but we love to connect the dots with students and teachers who are also creating bravely. And I think this is the part of the story where I am going to shift over to presenting the book. Shall I read this book? I think that was the idea. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm just going to go live. I'm going to find my copy of Going Places. So this is Going Places. And it can be a little bit of a challenge to do these reads because it's just me. I'm here in our studio just outside of Boston. And normally I have Andrea with me, and she's helping hold up books and share. So Going Places, written by me and illustrated by Peter. And we're going to see how I'm going to do this. All right. Raphael had been waiting all year long for the Going Places contest, a chance to build a go-kart, race it, and win. When their teacher announced who would like the first kit, Raphael's hand shot up. He's excited about the contest. The class watched enviously as Raphael walked back to his seat with a kit. Mrs. assured them, "Don't worry, you'll all be getting one. And they're all exactly alike." For the Going Places kits. The kit came with a set of precise instructions. That made Raphael happy. He was very good at following directions. There he is following directions, and he's got the blueprint out. He's got a lot of parts there. The Going Places kit. So he's off. He's off. And we'll do it like this, I think. Raphael hammered, glued, nailed, and assembled his kit. The go-kart looked just like the one in the directions. He was feeling quite proud of his work. Raphael wondered how his classmate Maya was doing. She lived right next door. Peered over the fence. Hey, Maya, you haven't even started yet? Maya didn't respond. She was so intent on watching the bird in front of her and quickly sketching it that she didn't even have time to notice Raphael. She's noticing something that goes places, maybe not with wheels. There she is, just dreamily looking at the sky. Then she just put her pencil down and stared at the bird dreamily. Raphael shrugged and let her be. Maya smiled. Who's had to be a go-kart? Raphael was confused. The set of instructions inside the box were for a go-kart, but then again, they didn't say it had to be a go-kart. He looked again at Maya's contraption, and he grinned. Hey, Maya, I really want to win this race. The instructions never said we couldn't team up either. Pretty good idea. And so they did, working late into the evening. The next day, everyone gathered for the big race. Each go-kart was a perfect replica of the other. Except for one. That one looks a little different, doesn't it? Boy, they were working hard on that together. One of the kids looks like you had trouble with the going places instructions. You're going places all right. You're going to lose. That's not very nice, is it? Sometimes kids can say things like that, and it's not great. But Maya and Raphael didn't even have time to respond because the announcer's big boomy voice called out, "Attention racers, start your engines. 4, 3, 2, 1." A buzzer sounded, and they're off. While all the other go-karts disappeared in a cloud of dust, Maya just sat there in their motionless vehicle. Raphael shouted over the roar of the engines and cheering crowds, "Maya, what are we waiting for?" "No worries, Raphael," Maya answered. "Flaps down, throttle up." And now they took off into the air. They are flying over the fields. There are some of the racers rather surprised. The other contestants looked up in amazement. And Raphael hovered and then sped past them all. Took right off. Before long, Maya and Raphael coasted across the finish line to the cheers of the waiting crowd. They're on the finish line, rather happy. And the rolling clear across the race grounds. Maya slammed the brakes, stopping just short of the lake at the edge of the school field. Can you see something happening on that rock? Raphael noticed a startled frog leap from a lily pad and dive into the water. He raised his eyebrows and looked at Maya. She smiled. Raphael, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Raphael just nodded. Come up with another idea. And this is one of the fun pages of the book. It doesn't have any words, but it's kind of fun. So what did they do? Flying, swimming frog machine. So now they're going places in a very different way. So that was going places, and the that book for us is very important because it shows Raphael was really good at following directions, and that's great. Sometimes it's very useful to learn the directions and follow the instructions, but to invent something brand new, to come up with an innovation, you have to think new ideas, and that's where creating bravely comes in. So they were pretty brave at trying a brand new idea, especially the day before race day. So it's a fable, it's an allegory that helps us understand how we need to, in order to go places in life, especially in STEM, to become an engineer or a scientist and to come up with the invention, we really have to go above and beyond what we know into the places that we don't know and try different things. And that's why in engineering, that idea of design thinking means that we come up with the idea, we design it, we build it or prototype it, and we try it out. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But then eventually, if it doesn't work, then you come up with the next idea and you modify it and you test it and you see what happens. So it's like a little circle that keeps going round and around and around. So when you're talking about invention and creation, it keeps going, and you can be wrong a whole bunch of times, but you're getting closer and closer to your final invention idea. So I think I have a few slides just to show you, to set Andrew's portion of the presentation up. So with any luck, I'm showing the Going Places slide there. So that's the book. And there's, just to let everybody know, there's an animated film version that FableVision created called Above and Beyond. So it actually started as an animated film. So you can find that on YouTube. And it would be interesting for you the two stories. The animated version is a little different than the book version, and it actually has a different ending. So, but it's a fun way to share the story. And again, it is about creating bravely. And today we're going to be talking about creating bravely with engineering design. And that's where Andrew is going to talk a little bit about this educational software that FableVision created to help kids design on the computer. And then you hit print, and it will print out onto a paper cutter fabricator, and it cuts and it perforates paper and cardstock, and you can create all sorts of cool inventions. It's like simple things to really complicated things, like that spaceship. You can do 2D projects from masks and all sorts of creations. You can do pop-ups, like a pop-up book you could create. So again, you're designing, you're printing, and you're testing, and you can always change it. There are 3D projects that you can do, building machines and houses and cars. And I think, oh yeah, and I'll just brief things. You're really doing engineering, right? You're doing designing that engineers do, and engineers can be all sorts of things, like an agricultural engineer. Engineers that create robots that take care of plants, or rooftop gardens. You could be a civil engineer. And civil engineers are the ones that build bridges and roads and municipal buildings. You could be an environmental engineer, and that is where you might be harnessing the power of the wind, or water, or solar, and all sorts of engineers. Like ergonomic engineers, they're the people who design things so that they're comfortable for human beings. And I think we just have one or two more, and then we'll turn it over to Andrea. You can even all the packages that you get, somebody designs those packages. So that's engineering. It's called package design engineering. And those are really cool jobs. Fashion design engineering. Who even thought that you could be an engineer for fashion? But it's true. So that is the Going Places story, and I'm going to shift out of this, and I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Andrea Calvin, and I'm going to stop sharing that, and I think Andrea can show a little bit of something on the with FabMaker.
Yeah, and I just wonder, Paul, before we transition to that, that was such a beautiful story, and you know that it's near and dear to my heart, and mine has your mark in it, which is always really special to me. But I'm wondering if the students have any questions for you before we go on to Andrea's section. MacArthur and his family says, we love reading this book at bedtime. She follows it up by talking to her children about thinking outside the box. And it's okay to be different than everyone else. Thank you for this awesome story. And Nicole said, this was one of my favorite books to use in my kindergarten class for inspiring unique thinking and creativity. Love it.
That's awesome. Sweet. I appreciate that feedback. You can write a story and you hope that people will connect with it and it will help them. But it's always lovely to hear it in people's own.
So students, do you have any questions for Paul that you can put in the chat?
It could be about anything: writing, media, animation. And even if you don't have a question today, if you want to send me a question, Melly knows where to find me, so I can always answer questions later on too.
Okay, this is great. Keely wants to know, what inspired you to write the book?
What inspired? Actually, some people in Washington, D.C. came to us and they said, we have been doing a lot of research about what kids really need to know to be successful in the modern world. And they came up with 4 things: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication. And they said, is there any way that you could create a story that would get all those ideas out? So that's what inspired us to write the film, or write the story for the film, Above and Beyond. And then our publisher, Simon & Schuster, saw it and picked it up. Sometimes that's how a story can happen. You just collaborate with people who are trying to solve a big idea. Good question.
And what a beautiful result. And Luke is wondering how many books you've published, because we see so many behind you, Paul.
Well, let's see. Here's a bookshelf. There's lots of my books, things that I've done with Peter. Here's another one. I think Peter and I have done together. I started a little later in writing books because I was focused on all the animated films and the media studio. So I have about 6 books with Peter. And Peter has done about, I think it's over 60 books that he's written and illustrated. So it's a lot of books.
Wow. And Mallory wants to know, what is your favorite book?
Let's see. My favorite book that we've done, or my favorite book of all time?
Maybe both.
Maybe both. I would say one of my favorite books that I've done is the To the Moon book, and And I know I wrote it for grades 1 and 2, but I really like the story and I love the illustrations. And it turns out that in this book, the Sydney and Simon are actually doing um, doing digital fabrication, 3D printing. So it's a cool story. Um, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was. Uh, it's funny. Peter and I both shared a love for that book. Has anybody read that book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Roald Dahl. It is. It's still one of our favorite books, and it was the very first book that Peter and I bought together. A hardcover book, Massachusetts. We saved up our pocket money, and we bought this book. It was $3.67, and I think we like that because Roald Dahl's stories are about young people who have to go through sometimes some tough challenges, and they use their creativity and ingenuity to solve the problem. So good question.
And great book. I think it is my favorite book to read to kids. Favorite chapter book. Seth wants to know, how long does it take you to write a book? That's a great question.
How long does it take to write a book? You know, sometimes it can be years, because you're coming up with the idea, and you might write it in your journal. And we highly recommend have a place where you can write your story ideas, and so you can come up with an idea, and it might just be an idea for a few years. But I would say once you've decided what the story idea is, it's probably about a 2-year process, because you're coming up with the first idea to share with your editor, and then your editor might look at the idea and tell you that sounds good. You might be writing the manuscript, and which is really an early version of the book, and then you get some feedback on it, and then you have to make some changes, and so you always have to be open to other people's input and advice. And then eventually it goes to the artist, and the artist ends up illustrating it. And that can take 5-6 months as well. So, and then even when it's done, then it has to go and get printed. And then there comes the amazing day that in the mail you get your first copy of the book, and you hold what's called the first edition, or the author's edition, which is really the very first books that come meant to go to the publisher and get to go to the author. So that's always a special day. But so you have to be very patient.
That's really cool. And Kerrigan says that she's writing a book right now, and she loves writing. But I'm going to tell you something about Kerrigan, Paul. She wrote a story last year. And do you know where that story lives right now and will live forever and ever?
Um,
You'll never guess.
I will never guess.
It lives in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, that story.
Right. Wow, Kerrigan, that is awesome. I'm so proud of you. How old is Kerrigan?
I'll let her answer.
Okay.
I'll get it wrong. She wrote a beautiful story that will live forever in the Hockey Hall of Fame. She's 9.
Oh, I see. I can see the little answers there. Got it. So that is Kerrigan. I am so proud of you. And how cool is that your work is being honored that way? Number one, that you were creating bravely and you actually did it. And 2, that it got recognized. That is really, really cool. Super proud of you. Keep on writing.
She will. I know she will. Are there any more questions before we go to Andrea and learn about 3D printing and fabricated printing? So amazing. And maybe do a little building challenge? Seth said cool.
Cool. Excellent. So yeah, as we turn it over to Andrea, I just want to say that our dots are connected. So if any students are interested in animation or publishing or writing, definitely stay in touch. and we're cheering you on. And if you ever come in the Boston area, we also own a children's bookstore. We love books so much we opened up a bookstore called the Blue Bunny, and it would be really cool one day if one of our Connected North students actually came to visit. You know, you will get VIP treatment. So.
Absolutely. Okay, over to you, Andrea. Thanks, Paul, and I can't wait to see what we're going to be doing next.
Okay. Okay, guys. Hi, can you hear me? Awesome. Hello, everyone. So how are people doing, today? How's your day going? So I sort of love to spend my days coming up with ways that I can use things that I have in my house to create something else. So sometimes I like to create, like I'm working on bird houses right now, and I saved my favorite snack that I'm eating right now are pistachios. And so I saved all of my pistachio shells. See that? And I'm painting them like this, and I'm putting them on the roof of my birdhouses to put outside. So I love finding things that people would normally throw away and turning it into something else. So pistachio shells are my new thing. My husband thinks I'm going slightly crazy because I have this container of pistachio shells. I'm a sort of a gardener. So I've also been taking food scraps and putting them in water. And so this is celery, and I am growing celery in some water, and then I'm going to plant it outside when it gets warmer, and hopefully I'll have some celery going on. Probably behind me, you can see this greenhouse that I have going inside. So I love finding ways to take something and turn it into something else. So we're going to talk a little bit about FabMaker Studio, but before that, I'm going to give you guys a challenge. So in going places, Maya and Raphael had to come up with they had to come up with a vehicle that could go places. Now, there are many ways to go places. We saw at the end, there was a frog that went, a frog vehicle that went places. What do you have around your house right now that you could turn into something that could go somewhere? Like, could you make a go-kart out of maybe a seltzer water bottle? Or could you, like I have right here, this is what I'm working on right now. I have this is a Band-Aid container that I cut a hole out of the top, and I'm gonna see if I can turn this into a sled. But it might take some more challenges going through my brain, but right now, this is one thing I'm trying to do of how can I turn this, and what can I put on the bottom to turn it into a sled. Last night, I took this little cup that used to have, I think I used to have tartar sauce in it, and I turned this into a little boat. And one of the challenges that I'm doing with myself, I don't know if you guys ever throw a challenge out to yourself going, I wonder if I could do this. But my challenge is how much weight, and so I'm going to use pistachio shells, how much weight can I put in this vessel to have it only sink to the purple line? Then how much more weight do I have to go to the green line? And so I'm gonna weigh these on my kitchen scale to see how heavy they are, and then I'm going to think through, make a guess, like a hypothesis, and then see if I got it right. And I'll test it and I'll run it through, and then I have my goddaughter is 9, and she lives in Albany, New York. And I'm going to be asking her to do the same challenge. So this is a vehicle that might go places like sink, but could also float. So this is kind of some of the challenges that I'm doing in my head. What I'm going to give you guys for a challenge is, can you take 2 balloons and straws and bottle caps, and this right here, this is a coconut water bottle from Trader Joe's. Can you turn this into a balloon powered car? So I designed this last night, and I had to figure out how am I gonna attach these bottle caps. And I went through a couple different ideas. At first, I was going to take a nail and pound the nail through, and then I found my hot glue gun to see if that could melt through. And it was a combination of both of them, but it was all trying it out and writing it down. So what I would love to hear from you guys is, maybe this week, and I would love to have you guys share photos with me of what did you do. I saw someone say I don't have any balloons. There are other ways to make a car move that you don't need balloons. Like, what if you put a sail on it? Could you make a sail and have it wind powered? That's a way to try it out. But if you guys could, my challenge is to you guys is to figure out how could you make a vehicle move made out of found objects in your house? Because this is Earth Week, right? We don't want to just throw everything out. We want to find a new purpose for it. And one, as Paul mentioned, one tool that we have is FabMaker Studio, and it's an online tool where kids can use shapes to design projects. So this is my fun prototype that I made of a go-kart. And then in Fab at School, I made a more refined one. So I measured and I scaled it down. And this is all out of paper to design. And I know I shared with your teachers a activity that you guys are going to get access to, that you can follow along and you can use scissors and you can cut out your own design for a balloon powered car, or you could have some fun and figure out how you would make, it doesn't have to be a car, maybe it's a sailboat, an airplane. My husband wants me to make an airplane. If you can make a vehicle that goes places like Maya and Raphael. You guys have any questions or ideas? I'm looking at.
I bet you they have lots of ideas because we did some building yesterday.
Oh, awesome.
And they came up with fantastic buildings made out of boxes.
Nice.
Yeah. And some even made furniture to go in their buildings. But students, do you, so the challenge is find some things around your house. Like I think I'm going to try and make some sort of a boat. So I have a cheese container and I'm going to cut this lid into a fan, like a pinwheel, like we made the other day with the Ann Arbor Museum. And I have another couple things to make into a boat. And then I'm going to take a picture of it and put it on our website so that I can share it with Andrea and send it to Katie. So boys and girls, you know how to do that. You go to connectednorth.org at home and go to the place where you can share pictures at the bottom of the page. We can send them on to Andrea and Paul, and Kerrigan's been really, really good at doing that. MacArthur sent us a couple things. So we'd love to be able to see your creations that way.
Yeah.
And we will share with Paul and Andrea because we know that that's really important to them. And we also have the resources on the website that has the instructions for you to make the car out of shapes when you design it on the computer. So that will be great. Now, does anyone have any questions for Andrea or for Paul before we go? And just so that you guys know, it's really our internet is very slow today up here.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So how many of you think that you might be able to go into the recycling or even get the objects before they go to recycling and maybe give this a try? And you can just put yes in the chat so that we know that we're going to have some innovators with imaginations. Oh, the Thompson family's going to.
Slumps. And it's interesting, very young people can invent some powerful inventions and create powerful inventions. I don't know if you're familiar with a young man named Boyan Slat. He created an invention to scoop plastic out of the oceans. And he was 16 years old when he came up with the idea, his first invention. And adults weren't really taking him that seriously until he actually built it and tested it. And he's now a very famous person cleaning up rivers and oceans with his invention.
Well, and the same with our boss, Michael Furtick and Jennifer Corriero. They were 16 and 17 when they figured out how to connect people, young people, using the internet, and they created Taking It Global. And Paul's known them for a long time, and now they connect people all around the world, just the way we are here.
That is awesome.
And that's how we connected. Well, we sort of connected through Taking It Global, but also through Rock Our World.
That's right.
That's right. So it does look like we're having some internet issues, or program issues. We're not sure, but I just want to thank Paul and Andrea for spending this time with us today. It's been so special, and more special than we can imagine. And thank you for inspiring the students and the teachers, and Nicole, keep writing that book, and Kerrigan, keep writing that book, and MacArthur. I hope you hear that story every night, because it really is a great story. So I'll let Paul and Andrea say goodbye, and then we'll have a great rest of our day.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mally, and the entire team, our Connected North team, and Taking It Global. And I just want to say that if you're excited about storytelling or creating or inventing or recycling, you will lead a really wonderful journey, because it's really exciting to create things. And as we're saying, we're dot connecting with other people, right? And because a lot of the big inventions require you to work with other people. So the more you collaborate and communicate and find people that you love creating with, the better. At FableVision, we do it as a studio, so we're all connected together like that to help each other. So, and when you're helping each other learn all the time, that's another wonderful thing. So keep helping other people, be kind to each other, and you will definitely be going places. So thank you, Mally, and thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the chance to connect with my fellow Canadians.
And thank you, Andrea, too.
Thank you guys for connecting, and I can't wait to see what you create. I have a couple more projects to come up with, so maybe I'll send it on over to share what I'm doing. Okay?
Okay, thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.